Hi everyone, today is February 23rd, 2019, and this is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger, and this week is a really big week in Duel Links. A bunch of things happened. The Kaiba Cup ended, so we have all of the reports. The KC Cup report came out, and we have all this data and all the decks from Duel Links meta as well. Along with that, a whole new box, Absolute Inferno, came out. So, we'll go over all of those cards. A new event, the Lumis and Umbra event, came as well. So there's a roaming duelist with new rewards for play as well. And all of the upcoming news came as well, in addition to some extra cards. So this is going to be a very crowded episode. And I was going to talk about a state of the podcasting where I'm doing the podcast by myself now, and I will eventually be looking for a co-host, but the process involved with that has not yet been developed, so I will talk about that in a future episode. Most likely, I will be talking to individuals who are interested, doing like a little interview on Skype, and probably bringing people on to be co-hosts for a tryout in an episode, but since there is so much to talk about today, I will leave that for a future date. In my week in Duel World, I did pretty well in the Kaiba Cup if you consider small sample sizes and win rates. I of course played the Bandit Vampire deck that I was using. I think by some point in the game in the Kaiba Cup, I pushed it up to 22 cards with a Karibo. So it's a standard vampire thing where you have an ugly looking deck, but I had a 70% win rate actually in stage 2, and but I only played 34 games, so my DP was like 1600. I think I definitely could have kept going with a 70% win rate. I could have gone far, but I don't know, I was just tired, and I think the stage 1 kind of took it out of me or something, I don't know what, but what happened was I did place in the top 10,000 worldwide, but I wasn't really aware of the thing where if you get top 500 in the region, you're some kind of representative or something. But I only needed to win like 3 more games to get 19,000 DP, I think, something along those lines, to be the top 500 NA. But I didn't know, so I just kept at the 10,000, top 10,000, and So that's over now. And in ranked duels this week, I started off. I neglected ranked duels from the start, so I was all the way down to Plat 1, and I was playing Noble Knights. That got me to I think I'm Plat 4 right now, so I switched over to Karakuri, so I'm trying to do some kind of combination of 2 decks I like, and that are pretty, you're not facing the toughest competition now, so I should be able to get to Legend 1. Moving on to this week in esports, I would be remiss not talking about the official esport of Duel Links, which is the Kaiba Cup. KC Cup report number 12 came out, and it's surprising that this is actually the 12th Kaiba Cup. Felt like yesterday when they first started these, and there's been a bunch. So let's look at the top decks. The most common archetypes in stage 1. They don't really specifically state this, but you could kind of tell by looking at the top monster cards that they list. And Ancient Gears came in number 1. Second was Blue Eyes. Third was Koaki Meru. Fourth was Masked Hero. 5, some combination of Control, Install decks, or Burn, whatever you like to call it. And 6 was Silent Swordsman. First, the most common skills in Stage 1, Middle Age Mechs, which goes along with Ancient Gears being number 1. Beatdown, Balance, Tie That Binds, and Destiny Draw. So, definitely the Blue Eyes and the Koaki Meru fit the bill there, but they weren't using Trick Up the Sleeve. Trick Up the Sleeve was number 6 in the top 20, so that can explain some of the Blue Eyes. Some people probably didn't have Arcana's skill. I don't know what was going on there. And I'm just trying to analyze the differences between the first stage and second stage. If you play people in ranked duels, you notice that some people don't even play the second stage, so that's interesting. And most common archetypes in stage 2, Koaki Meru, number 1, no surprises. Ancient Gear number 2, Control Stall 3rd, Masked Heroes 4th, Spellbooks 5th, Vampire 6th, 7 Buster Blader, 8 Blue Eyes. And finally, the common skills in Stage 2, Tie That Binds was number 1, Balance was number 2, Middle Age Max 3, Grit 4, 5 Last Gamble. So these two things kind of go hand in hand, the archetypes and the skills. Tie That Binds is a very common Kawaki Meiru thing, and it's especially important now because of all of the 3,000 attack monsters in the meta, and the Maximus has to get over the Ancient Gear Reactor Dragons. That's why that's the number 1 skill. Balance is also a common skill. I think it's a skill that is more common in Ancient Gears than Kawaki Meiru, because Kawaki Meiru, they had a bunch of trap cards and then they ditched them, so it's very possible that accounted for the Ancient Gears, and of course a lot of other decks use Balance. And Grit is number 4. Grit is a common skill. You see it in Kawaki Meiru sometimes, and it's just good in a one-turn kill meta. If I was gritted yesterday in a ranked duel, it always surprises you every time. 5 was Last Gamble. That is definitely the Buster Blader skill. And there's some other notable ones. Kaiba Bling was only 17th. That's a skill that is kind of taking over vampires. I know Bandit is a vampire skill, but Kaiba Bling has shown up in top decks. I think even the first place guy used Kaiba Bling. So it's also used in spellbooks now. Sealed Tombs is 13th. I think Sealed Tombs was number 1 last time, if I'm not mistaken. And that's because the vampires were definitely the target. Here, Kawaki Meiru's and Ancient Gears kind of took the front, but there was definitely a lot of tier 2 decks to consider as well in the Kaiba Cup, 20th, level augmentation, that's Karakuri's. They're fine deck. They're fine tournament deck. You could use side deck cards with them. In this type of thing, a card like System Down probably would have been a great choice in the KC Cup just to use because of all the machines. Not a System Down works for the Ancient Gears, but then you have to use Blustering Winds for Kawaki Meiru, so I guess that didn't really make sense, but they were number 20. Duel Links meta also has a cool little thing where they have decks from the top 100. I think they're user submitted. They asked top players, and a lot of them are part of that community anyways. The first place player, Soon, who was actually the last King of Games, he won the last tournament for Duel Links, so repeated success. Congrats to him. He used 3 decks. Kaiba Bling Vampires, Last Gamble Buster Blader, and a Chain Reaction Amazoness deck. And I think the Amazoness deck definitely takes center stage. It was noted that the vampires were used in the last stage of the event when he had 58k DP and he took it to the end. Of course, Kaiba Bling, you could kind of build it however you want. Most people will have the shiny econs. In the Amazoness deck, it has the interesting card Justice Bringer in it, which seems to counter anything in the meta. It's a great opener to have in the deck. And, Chain Reaction is a deck that just slowly burns you down, and Amazoness Swordswoman just burns you down in chunks. So, there's a ton of other decks in here from players you recognize that are participating in these tournaments. Stevie, number 2 in North America, 7th overall. He brought that water deck that he first brought into the Duel Links tournament, the Duel Links meta tournament. So that's the water deck that has some of the Gen X monsters, Sea Stealth, of course, all that stuff. Looking through the deck list, and there's nothing too crazy. You see a lot of Kawaki Meiru, you see a lot of vampires, you see a lot of Ancient Gears in the top 100. There are some Mecha Phantom Beast deck. 28, Kobito Kaba brought one, Tie That Binds Mecha Phantom Beast. Bingjian 98, 29th place. Kaiba Bling Obelisk with Mecha Phantom Beast Hamstrat only, and a lot of trap cards as well. You also see some spellbooks sprinkled in as well, but a lot of consistency of the top decks here in the top 100 at least. Dimex brought a very similar deck to the first place guy. He had Justice Bringer as well, but there's Necro Valley thrown in with Amazoness and Lava Golem. It's a big mess. Um, yeah, Buster Blader again, Spellbooks. So there definitely is a tier of decks. You don't really see the Spellbooks in the top, but you see them in the lower hundreds, I guess. So, congrats to everyone who did very well. You can check out the link for the top 100 decks. All right. Meta Weekly number 60. This happened a couple days ago on Wednesday, February 20th. And this is the first Duel Links Meta tournament phased off of the Kaiba Cup. So, Vampires and Kawakimeru still led the way, of course, in representation, but Vampires did a lot better in the top 32. Amazoness, 7 brought altogether 5 made it to the top 32. It's kind of, the carryover from the Kaiba Cup. So Amazoness are back. First place, Young Slurp. Kaiba Corp playing Vampires. This is a pretty standard deck. If you look at the deck lists, there's no Vamp, but apparently it's a submission error. No one would be crazy enough to play Vampires without Vamp. It's the single-handed thing that beats the meta right now. So, and the player noted that there are shiny Econs, Familiars, and Hey True Nades. So it doesn't, like last week I kind of said you have to have the Samurai Skull. That's not necessarily the case. I guess it's what you have. Second place, Psycho P Karakuri deck. Still the standard Karakuri deck, which is, 3 Kamachi, 3 Merchant, 2 Soldiers, and 1 Strategist. So that's that's your monster core right there. And nothing too crazy. There's a lot of tools to deal with the Ancient Gears, I think, here. 2 Floodgates, 2 Paleozoic Canadians, and of course a Cosmic Cyclone to deal with those spells. And of course, the Offerings to the Doomed is quite solid, as long as they don't have the Fortress out. Third place, Irving, Tie That Binds Kawakimeru. This is a very clean deck. You've got 3 Kribos, 3 Maximus, and 3 Diamond Cores, and 2 Hey True Nades. So, it's all in that strategy. There's nothing else, no Econs, nothing like that. 2 Hey True Nades, 3 Kribos. So it's very streamlined to the plan of what Kawakimeru does. And Serenity, Sealed Tombs, Kawakimeru as well. This is an uglier list. There's a Treacherous, there's a Econ, no Kribos at all, 3 Paleozoic Canadians though. So, otherwise it's the same deck you've seen beat you in one turn a lot. So that is Duel Links Meta Weekly number 60, and that wraps up esports for the week. Moving on, the main roaming duelist event this week has been Lumis and Umbra. I think they are a popular choice given their spot in the anime. They only appeared once, but it was a multi-episode thing, and they're probably following along with the user input about what characters to add to the game. So here's another character. Of course, they've done 2 duelists with Paradox Brothers, so it's not really an issue. And of course, they get to use Lumis and Umbra for, various Battle City things, so they have their sprites for that. One complaint I have, we don't know what skills they have, of course. It's probably something with the Mass Beast to try to get the Mass Beast into the meta, because that's a very old style way of playing the game. But one complaint is that I feel like these reward cards have nothing to do with the characters. A few of these cards are cards they used in the anime or the show, but most of them are not. So it seems like they just gave them random cards. And that's not surprising because the Mass Beast cards were mostly released in Duel Links already. So I had to give them something, I guess. So the rewards themselves aren't too useful, but let's talk about the cards. First is Illusory Snatcher. Illusory Snatcher is a 7-star fiend, 2400, 1000. When you tribute summon a monster, you can special summon this from your hand. If you do, the type, attribute, level, and of this card becomes the same as the face-up tributed summoned monster. So the only deck nowadays that tribute summons are vampires, so vampires don't really need an extra body on the board, but, it is a free summon, and it is a Monarch card. It has the 2400, 1000 type stats. And this card is pretty useful in the future of the game when we have XZ summons. So that's going to be a theme for a few of these cards that we're going to talk about. And for now, it's not that useful, of course, because we don't tribute summon. We don't really need a card like this. But once XZ summons come out, you have 2 level 7s on the board, you do that. So definitely a card to take for the future. Next is Obsidian Dragon 4-star Rock, 800, 2100 defense. Negate the effects of spells and trap cards that target only one face of dark monster you control, destroy them. Very situational card. You want this card in defense mode. It has a high defense and not much attack, so typically it'll get hit, it get flipped up, and it's there to protect one dark monster. So you need to have some important dark monster which is targeted alone. Not very useful. It's situational. It's got high defense. I guess that's all it has going for it. But they are releasing high defense 4-star monsters in droves now. Even a Samurai Skull can hit over this with the Vampire Field. So 2100 can repel some things. It can't repel many meta things though. So not very useful. Evil Swarm Oblivisp. This is a very interesting card. 4-star Pyro, 450, 2050 defense. After damage calculation, if this card battles a monster, negate the effects of that monster, including in the graveyard. So basically what happens is whenever this hits something or gets hit, that monster permanently loses all their abilities for the rest of the game. And I don't know if it's the rest of the game. It's if they get bounced into the deck, if they get bounced into the hand, they might get it back. I think they'll get it back in that case, but so as long as the monster is on the board or in the graveyard, I don't know about banish either. It could get banished. They lose all their abilities. I think this is it's not a meta card, but it's a very interesting control possibility. Like I said, it's 2050 defense, can repel many things. It can't repel the Samurai Skull, but can repel many other things. This is also a low attack Pyro, so it works with Blaze Accelerator. I don't think that really is relevant because I haven't seen Blaze Accelerator since it came out in the box. So, but there are definitely control possibilities in that you can negate things. I think Holy Guard is something that comes into mind because the 450 attack, you don't mind ramming into something if you have Holy Guard on. So that's something to think about. Next is Missing Force, 4-star Warrior, 1500, 1000. If you control no other monsters, tribute this card to target one monster your opponent controls. Take control of that target until the end phase. You cannot special summon or conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect. So, this is the Econ Take. That's all it is. It's not the change battle position part of Econ, but it's the Econ Take part. And you need an extra ramp, though, to steal and tribute the monster. You can't attack with that monster, so you can't just take that, Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon and steal it and hit for 3000. You need Vampire's Domain, something like that, but in the end, this is a Warrior. It's kind of like if you need 3 Econs in the deck, which I don't think you do for Vampire, so in the end, not too useful. Maybe double summons, I don't know, but it's a card. Final Gesture is the last SR. Normal spell, target one face-up level 3 monster you control, special summon one monster of the same name as that monster from your hand or graveyard. Its effects are negated. During the end phase of this turn, destroy the face-up monster that was targeted. So, interesting card. It helps level 6 synchro summons. You get 2 level 3s on the board. Maybe even some fusion summoning. So this is it's not a card that's going to see a ton of play, but when some good level 6 comes out, it could be possible. There's that Iron Chain Dragon. There's the Paladin Zectron. Those are 2 level 6 synchros I could think about. There's probably going to be more, so this is useful for that regard. Shining Abyss is just a 1600, 1800. It has high stats for a card that was released in Labyrinth of Nightmare way back early in the TCG. That's all it is, though. Nuvia the Wicked, 4-star Fiend, 2800. When this is normal summon, destroy it. If your opponent controls any monster, decrease this monster's attack by 200 for each monster. So, yeah, there are cards that are 4-star 2000s already, so this card has no use right now. It would have been okay, when the game first started, you get a free 1800 out or something, but not good. Darkfall trap card. When your opponent special summons 2 or more face-up monsters at the same time, send those monsters to the graveyard. Then send all monsters in the opponent's hand and deck to the graveyard that have that same name as the monster sent to graveyard by this effect. It sounds like it's useful, but there's not many meta cards at all that qualify, and especially we have a 3-monster board, so this doesn't happen very often at all. The most possible thing, I think, is Ties of the Brethren with yugioh, so they get 2 things out on the board, and that would just wreck their deck, because that would take out 2/3 of their monsters, but you don't really see that deck in the meta anymore. So those are the rewards. I have been farming with the Unhappy Girl method. I did that for a bit, and now I'm just auto-dueling until I get my last card, so from that context, the drops have been okay so far. Alright. Now we're going to talk about the 18th main box that was released this week, Absolute Inferno. Cover monster is Red Dragon Archfiend, so that's Jack Atlas's card. No need to use the skill anymore because his card is here. Of course, he released 2 cards, Stygian, not Stygian Security. It's I don't remember what it's called. Scarlet Security, I think it was called. It has synergy, and also the Red Dragon Vase. So those are all cards you can consider to use for the dragon. Of course, now we're still waiting for Akiza's Black Rose Dragon. So we don't know when that's going to be released, if at all. So we're going to see how they play it out there. But this is a main box that has a lot of fire monsters. There are those Red Dragon Archfiend themed cards, the Lavels, the Fire Fist, Nephis, a lot of fire related things. And we're going to talk about all the URs and SRs in detail, and then I'll briefly discuss the archetypes themselves. So let's get into the cards themselves and talk about what they can do in Duel Links. Get to the URs first. Of course, there are only 1 UR in each box. There are 9 in this box. Red Dragon Archfiend, 8-star Dragon Synchro, no specific tuning requirements, 3000, 2000. After damage calculation, after this card attacks a defense position monster your opponent controls, destroy all defense position monsters your opponent controls. During your end phase, destroy all other monsters you control that did not declare an attack this turn. This card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. So, not counting what synergy there is in the box, we have Scarlet Security. So Scarlet Security is a trap card that destroys all of the opponent's back row, and Red Dragon Vase draws 2 cards. So they both require the Red Dragon Archfiend to be on the field, though. Other cards you can consider are Curse of Anubis, Windstorm of Edequa. So definitely want your opponent's monsters in defense mode. Of course, Econs probably come into play. Any of those cards. Paleozoic Canadia is always a good card, so throw all those cards into your deck. I will talk about some of the other support cards they have. We have not seen this card, this archetype really make it to a tournament yet, but we will see if it makes it. Other monster, Laval Dragon, 5-star Dragon Synchro, need a tuner and a non-tuner fire monster, 2000, 1100. You can shuffle 2 Laval monsters from your graveyard into your main deck. Target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. It's almost like a Gusto. It's a very cheap, weak synchro. They recycle stuff to put back into the deck. They could definitely get stuff into the graveyard, but I don't know if it's worth just, a 2000 attack monster, so not very impressive for a synchro. Chaos King Archfiend, 7-star Fiend Synchro, requires a Fiend tuner and a non-tuner, 2600 attack, 2600 defense. When this card declares an attack, you can switch the current attack and defense of all face-up monsters your opponent controls until the end of the battle phase. A lot, like 70-80% of the monsters probably have higher attack than defense. And it's definitely the case with some of the meta cards that are 3000 attack. So this can hit over, Maximus and Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon when they are switched to defense mode. Defense stats. So 2600 beats 2500, that's the thing. It beats Blue Eyes. So it is interesting. It's situational though. You need a tuner. You need a Fiend tuner, so try to get one of those. It could be a 1-turn kill card. There are cards, vampires come to mind, where they have 0 defense. You can kind of one-turn kill, but there are easier ways to do it now. So I'm not sure if this card just doesn't fit, requires too much setup. I don't know what, but it is, it can't hit over those 3,000 attackers, but there is some setup involved, so it's not going to come easy. Cerulean Sacred Phoenix of Nephis. Very interesting card. Winged Beast Ritual Monster. 8 stars, 3,000 attack, 1,000 defense. Ritual summon this card with Rebirth of Nephis. You can only use one of these effects once per turn. During your main phase, you can destroy Nephis cards in your hand or face up on the field, destroying an equal number of monsters your opponent controls. During your next standby phase, after this card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon this from the graveyard. So Nephis came out a long time ago. I think the set was called Dawn of Destiny, and that Nephis had 2,400, and what it did was it came back once it was destroyed by effect. I think it has to be destroyed by effect. And it comes back and it destroys your opponent's back row. This one doesn't have that ability. It's a little stronger. It competes with the other 3,000s, of course. It's got a lot of defense, but you basically destroy your own your own cards to destroy monsters. So it's a trigger ability. It's not a trigger ability. It's like an optional ability. But you try to get the synergy off. So you destroy your Nephis, your original Nephis, to recycle to use back to destroy the back row. So you have Cerulean Nephis and regular Nephis working together. And of course, this is a ritual monster, so you need the ritual card. And of course, 8 stars worth of tributes. So I don't know if this will see play, but it could be very flashy. Of course, with Nephis, you have to think about yugioh. Yugioh and regular Nephis are being played together. I'm not sure how this fits in. It definitely can. I think this has a lot of big play potential. Yugioh is definitely a card you've seen a lot in the Kyber Cup as well. So I think this can fit into that deck. Probably the middle strategy goes out if I had to guess, because this is more of a blow out your board type strategy. So you're going to fight for the monsters on one turn, you're going to fight for the back row on the other turn. Kind of very dangerous. So I am excited to see this card. I think it has a lot of potential as well. Brother of the Firefist Spirit, 3-star Beast Warrior Tuner, 500 attack, 200 defense. Cannot be used synchro material except for a Beast Warrior synchro summon. When it's normal summon, target one level 3 fire monster of 200 or less defense in your graveyard, special summon it in defense mode. If you do, your opponents can't attack for the rest of the turn except for Beast Warriors. You can only use this effect once per turn. This is what you want from a tuner. You bring back a monster, and this would bring back a level 3, because there's 2 3s. There's a tuner and a non-tuner, both level 3 and level 6. So kind of like Junk Synchron with a level 5. And the thing is that Beast Warriors synchros have not been released so far. There's only one in this game, and I will talk about that. It's an SR card, but this only applies to one card, so very limited usage as of right now. Next card is Brother of the Firefist Bear, 4-star Beast Warrior, 1,600, 1,200. Once per turn, when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, set one Fire Formation spell card directly from the deck. Once per turn, you can send one face of Fire Formation spell or trap you control to the graveyard, target one monster on the field, destroy it. So the first ability is very situational, so you need to inflict battle damage with 1,600, so that's not much. Second ability is nice. You can remove the face-up card, destroy a card. So it's a control card. When you're talking about Fire Fist, you definitely like the card Fire Formation Gyaku. So that's a card that makes, that's a lockdown card that you didn't see in Fire Fist. You saw it like a Shinzeng Hu, Hey Trune type card. And of course, it makes the Fire Fist stronger. Another card you want to think about is Tensu. Tensu is kind of like a double summon ramp card. So once you use that ability, you can dispose of it easy to destroy your opponent's monster. If Fire Fists become a thing, this is one of those good cards. Vice Dragon, 5-star Dragon, 2,000, 2,400. If your opponent controls a monster and you control none, you can special summon this from your hand, but its original attack and defense become half. So, little ramp card. Yeah, these types of cards you see a lot, actually. I thought this was the Big Piece Golem. The Big Piece Golem is a normal summon, so this is even better. It cheats out, but it's got lower stats. This is a ramp card. You would only use this, I think, in a dragon type deck that needs a dark, so maybe some kind of dark flare shenanigan you've got going on. You don't see those decks anymore, but in the event it does come back, Chaos strategies come back, maybe this has a place. Right now it doesn't. Living Fossil, equip spell. Activate this card by targeting one level 4 or lower monster in the graveyard, special summon it, and equip it with this equip card. Banish it when it leaves the field. When this card leaves the field, banish the equipped monster. The equipped monster loses 1,000 attack and defense. Its effects are negated. You can only use one of these cards per turn. It's a powerful rebirth type card. Of course, dinosaurs have this little banish strategy, so it's a callback to that. There are situations where you want your monsters banished, like Giant Rex, but Giant Rex is a card you want to attack. Anyways, right? It has 2,000 attack. You want it to destroy your opponent's monsters. So this has some banish strategy where banished monsters work to your advantage. So if that ever comes into play, maybe. Right now, I am not thinking about this card yet. And finally, the last UR is Dark Bribe. It's a counter trap. When your opponent activates a spell or trap, your opponent draws a card. Negate the spell and trap activation if you do destroy it. This is like 7 Tools of the Bandit, like Magic Jammer, except you don't pay your life, you don't pay a card, you give your opponent card advantage. And in Duel Links, that is bad. I think you don't want to do that. Often you're playing with your top decking your cards, and anyone who draws 2 cards in one turn gets a clear advantage. So a card seeing play right now is Solemn Scolding. They're paying 3,000 to even negate a summon, so that's more flexible. I see this being a mill card, though. It definitely finds a home in that department. So this could be. I mean, I'm thinking about mill decks. Yubel Nephis. I don't know if it had Nephis in it, but Yubel definitely runs Warm Worms for mills, and this can kind of negate cards. Like, I know as playing as a Karakuri player, I would use Offerings to the Doomed on Yubel, and this kind of counters Offerings to the Doomed, so, and you also make your opponent draw more, so, that's what that card is for right now. Let's move on to the SRs. There are 11 SRs in total, and of course there are 2 SRs per box. This is the Synchro Monster Beast Warrior Synchro that works for the Firefist Spirit. This is the only Beast Warrior Synchro, of course it's 6 stars. Brotherhood of the Firefist Horse Prince, 6-star Beast Warrior, 2200. Requires a Fire Tuner and a Non-Tuner. When this card Synchro summoned, special summon 1 level 3 Fire Monster from your deck. After you Synchro summon this card, you cannot special summon level 5 or higher monsters for the rest of the turn. So what this does is it prevents another Synchro summon, I think, or another fusion, something like that, along those lines. Honestly, it's not too impressive. I mean, what you want to do, there's definitely, the card you want to bring back, obviously, is a monster that can set Fire Formation Gyaku. And I think there's a few, you have to look through your collection of Firefist monsters. They've been released a few times, and there's definitely at least one that does that. So it's kind of a one-turn kill type move. I don't know if that monster would have 1,800 attack to make this 4,000, but it is something to think about. So, Spirit into Horse Prince into that monster that gets Fire Formation Gyaku. You could kind of spell it out what that does here. Devotee of Nephis, 2-star Ritual Spellcaster, 1,200. You can Ritual summon this card with Rebirth of Nephis. Use one of these effects. You can only use one of these effects once per turn. When this card's Ritual summoned, you can activate this effect. Special summon 1 Nephis monster from your deck. Also, during the end phase, destroy this card. If this card is in the graveyard, you can destroy 1 Nephis card in your hand if you do special summon this card. Interesting. It's a level 2 Ritual, so you play the Ritual card. Very cheap. Of course, it depends how many level 2s you have in your deck, so you probably have another one of these running around, and you tribute summon it. Or, no, there's a lot of other Nephis cards that are 2 stars, so it definitely fits. It's pretty cool. You cheat out a Nephis monster from your deck, so it could be the Cerulean, which is 3,000. It could be the regular Nephis, which is 2,400, depending on the situation, I think. And then you can the graveyard ability actually has synergy with the original Nephis, so you use the second ability. When this is in the graveyard, destroy Nephis in your hand, and then you can special summon a 1200 attack monster, which is not irrelevant. It competes with Paleozoic Canadia on the board. And then the Nephis would come back and blow out the back row. So this is definitely a card you want if you want to make Nephis work. Laval Lakeside Lady, 3-star Pyro Tuner, 200/200. If this card is in your graveyard when you have 3 or more Laval monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can banish this card and another Laval monster from your graveyard, target one set card your opponent controls, destroy it. So, this is a tuner with an extra ability. I guess it's hard to say if Lavals will work, how fast they can get stuff into the graveyard. You have to have 3 monsters with different names, but I think it's pretty easy for them. There are cards that mill really well in the deck. This could be their mechanic to cheat out, to do any tuning if they want to, or it could just be removal. I don't know. But there is potential for removal, and you could do it multiple times a turn. Of course, it depends how many other cards you have in the graveyard. Next is Gen X Ally Dura Dark, 4-star machine, 1800/200. Once per turn during your main phase, you can select one face-up attack position monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as this card destroyed. This card cannot attack the turn you activate this effect. Very interesting card, I like this card. This is the first card that makes DNA Transplant a card. I know DNA Surgery wasn't really used until Buster Blader started seeing play, so this is DNA Transplant, if you don't know, is a card that changes attributes. And as long as that card's on the field, Dura Dark and that monster will have the same attribute. So this is basically removal every turn on a face-up monster. And I know the Ally of Justice, they are dark monsters that do stuff against light monsters, so maybe you want to turn everything light. So it doesn't matter what this card is. So you get an advantage over the light monsters. I think this card alone will not make DNA Transplant a play, but so as long as more Ally of Justice cards come out and Gen X allies come out, and you could see some attribute manipulation, which is very cool. Dread Dragon, 2-star Dragon Tuner, 1100/400. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can add one level 3 or lower dragon monster from your deck to your hand. This does a lot of things. It tutors a low-level dragon. It has to be destroyed by battle, which, 1100/400, anything can destroy that in battle. And it's a tuner. It's not very exciting, but there could be a fringe situation just because it is like a Swiss Army knife. It does a ton of stuff, so maybe. I don't think so, though, but maybe. 3 Trolling Trolls, level 3 Beast Warrior Tuner, 1300. When this card is normal or special summon, target one Beast Warrior monster in your graveyard. This card's attribute and level become the same as that monster until the end of the turn. During your main phase, you can special summon one Beast Warrior monster with the same attribute and level as this card from your hand. You can use the effect of 3 Trolling Trolls once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate either of this card's effects, except for Beast Warriors. This is a Fire Fist monster because it's a Beast Warrior, and it helps tune out the Beast Warriors. And I think it's just a budget Fire Fist Spirit, frankly. It does the same thing. You special summon the Beast Warrior from your graveyard. It doesn't have to be a level 3, but it turns it into a level 3. So this is the exact same card as Spirit, and you can kind of use it for the Horse Prince. So there it is, another budget card. I mean, it's an SR. It's not exactly budget, but you're gonna get. You could open the box once, and you'll have enough monsters. Next SR is Flame Veil Guard, which is it's boring but interesting. It's 1-star Dragon Tuner, 100 attack, 2000 defense. That's all it is, vanilla tuner. And it's a lot of stats for a 1-star monster. 1-star 2000 is definitely a very interesting card. It is a tuner. The Water Spirit was a card that saw play, so this could replace the Water Spirit for sure. I think you can make some kind of stupid one-turn kill with, you play this monster, secret pass of the treasure, shield and sword, and then triangle power, so it hits in for 4,000. How about that? So It's a very boring card on the outset, but there are some things you can do with it. Alexandrite Dragon, 4-star, 2000 attack dragon. That's all it is. Very good in the beginning of the game, not so much now. So, of course, it's a light dragon, so you can think about some chaos strategies with Dark Flare Dragon again. Molten Conduction Field, normal spell. Send 2 lava monsters from your deck to the graveyard. This is probably core for the lava archetype. Send 2 to the graveyard. And of course, this sets off a bunch of other cards, like the Handmaiden, which I'll talk about soon. So this is not just send 2, it's send 2 plus X, so whatever that is. Skilled Prisoner, trap card. Target 1 card you control. This turn, when any monster effect resolves that targets that card at activation, negate the effect. During either player's turn, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this from your graveyard. Target 1 card you control. Anything that targets that is negated as well. This is a lot like Skill Successor, except Skill Successor manipulates attack. So I think this is more useful. It's sneaky. It's very useful. It provides 2 target effect negations. Skill Successor saw a little bit of play. This is the type of card that could see some play. I mean, once it's hidden, the graveyard opponent doesn't really expect it, and then you pull something off to get a comeback. Might see some play. And finally, the last SR is Bad Aim, trap card. When your opponent's card or effect is activated, target 1 card on the field other than that one, destroy it. This could be good. It's situationally useless when your opponent plays just 1 monster. But it could be a counter to Ancient Gear Wyvern, because Ancient Gear Wyvern doesn't allow you to play back row once you play a monster. So you play the back row first, and then you play the Wyvern, and then you could bad aim their back row. So, very useful. Of course, we're not just slugging it out with normal monsters nowadays, so every turn someone's activating some effect. So this is something to consider. I don't think it would be a card everyone would run 3 of, like Paleozoic Canadia, but I think in the right deck it could work in our meta. Talk about the rest of this box now and split it into archetypes. I think there are 4 main archetypes in this set with a few little ones as well. First one is Lavels, and as mentioned before, the Lavels did appear in a previous deck, but they barely got any support, so they were never played. There's a Laval Dragon, that's a UR here. And of course, the Molten Conduction Field is a spell card that's an SR. Let's see what other cards they have. Laval Duel Slasher. It's a very solid synchro monster, actually. This one's better than the other one. It's 2400 attack. It gains effects. It's 5 stars first. 5-star, 2400. Gains effects based on the number of lava monsters in the graveyard. When you have 2 or more, it can attack twice per turn when it attacks a defense monster. So it can attack that and then go face. And then if there's 3 or more, it has piercing. So this is a cheap synchro for them to consider for that deck. I think their main card is Dustflame Blast. It's a rare trap. Banish all lava monsters from your graveyard. Destroy any number of cards on the field up to the number of monsters banished. So you have to do... The thing that sucks is you have to banish all your cards, but luckily you won't need... If they mill their own deck fast enough, if they dispose of enough cards, you don't need too many cards. You could just destroy the back row and a monster. That's 4 cards. That's not too much, I think. And as long as they can refill again, this is the card that will make them work, I think. Probably their best card is the Lava Volcano Handmaiden. 1-star Pyro Tuner. When this card is sent to the graveyard, if you have a lava monster in your graveyard other than Handmaiden, send 1 lava monster from your deck to your graveyard. If you played the dual quizzes, you know how good this card is. You could use the Molten Conduction Field, dispose of 1 other lava plus Handmaiden, and basically the chain goes, the Handmaiden can keep activating. You dispose of the other Handmaiden, your second one. You dispose of your third Handmaiden, and then you get your last ability to dispose of another monster. So you could essentially play Molten Conduction Field. Toss 2, toss 3 then. So there's 5 cards in the graveyard. I don't think I have seen such powerful controlled deck disposal. Of course, Grass is Greener, you could, dump your whole deck out, but this is controlled. You could toss 5 monsters out. So, Handmaiden is very good. And there's some other cards. Laval Stenin as a 7-star synchro. It punishes targeted effects. So when it's synchro summoned, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard that does the Laval thing. During either player's turn, when this card's targeted by a card effect, banish a Laval, negate the activation, destroy the targeting card. So this not only negates the card, but it destroys the thing. So it could be a monster, it could be a Maximus, for example. So you could counter a bunch of things, but it is a 7-star synchro. And then there's the tuner, Soaring Eagle above the land. It's a Laval card, but it's a tuner that you could basically use 2 times. So that's something to consider. Nephis. So Nephis, they have the Cerulean Phoenix, and then the Disciple. So 2 new ritual monsters that are URs and SRs respectively. Disciple of Nephis, 2-star spellcaster. During your main phase, you can destroy 1 card in your hand. If you do, add a Nephis monster from your deck to your hand, except for Disciple of Nephis. During the standby phase, after this card is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, add 1 Nephis spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So this is a better card than Fire King Avatar Yaksha. Fire King Avatar Yaksha is often the fuel for Yubel decks, or Yubel/Nephis decks. And this one, you don't have to get destroyed. You could just play it in attack mode, and then destroy that card in your hand, and that starts the whole Yubel or Nephis chain. And then it also tutors when it's destroyed by card effect, so you could use Yubel, for example, to destroy this card by effect. And then you get your Nephis spell trap, which is probably a ritual card. So this is a very good monster as well. For Yubel/Nephis, whatever. Defender of Nephis is very similar. You can destroy 1 card in your hand, and then you can special summon a Nephis monster from your hand. So this does the same thing, where you could destroy the Nephis or Yubel. It can also destroy from the deck, which is very interesting. Destroy 1 Nephis monster in your deck, except for Defender of Nephis. So yeah, that one triggers by getting destroyed by card effect. So basically, you destroy Yubel, and then it gets destroyed by Yubel, and then you destroy another card. So these 2 cards work hand in hand. They're pretty good at getting Nephis out or Yubel out. Another card is Last Hope for Nephis, spell card. Target 1 other Nephis card you control, and 1 card your opponent controls, destroy them. You can only use 1 of these once per turn. So this is probably better for the regular Nephis card, which you want to destroy by effect anyway, so then it blows out the back row. And then it targets its removal on 1 monster, spot removal. And the Awakening of Nephis, continuous trap. All Nephis monsters you control gain 300 attack. If this is destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon a Nephis monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, but destroyed during the end phase. This lets Cerulean Nephis hit over the other 3,000 monsters. That's all I have to say about this card. And then the ritual card itself is not just a regular ritual card. It works for multiple Nephis monsters, of course. But if you tributed Devotee of Nephis or Cerulean Sacred Phoenix of Nephis, you can destroy 1 card on the field. So it's removal on a ritual spell, which is always a plus to make any ritual thing happen. You have to have a plus ability on your ritual spell. The next archetype up are the Fire Fists, and the Fire Fists are definitely a card that have seen like a million cards released in the past. They have the Horse Prince, the Spirit, and the Bear, as mentioned in the URs and SRs. The only other synchro they have is Fire Fist Kieran, 8-star, 2000 attack, 2800 defense. When this card synchro summon, you can set 1 fire information card directly from the deck. All monsters your opponent controls lose 100 for each face-up spell or trap you control. So, very unimpressive. I think it's a level 8 monster. Probably needs 3 monsters, and it's just 2000 attack. So it just matches up with a 2300 attack monster. Of course, you get to tutor out you get to play a Fire Fist directly from the deck, so it could be Tensu, it could be Gyaku. So, not much attack on a synchro. Is not too impressive in my opinion, but it is a monster. So it does have that ability, sneaky ability, but you do need those 3 monsters on the board probably for a Fire Fist, because they are lower level monsters. Fire Fist Boar. Card is Fire Fist Boar. Tuner 1100, 1400 cannot be has to synchro summon a fire monster. When this is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, special summon a level 4 Fire Fist from the deck except for Boar. When a Fire Fist monster is special summoned from the extra deck, you can set a Fire Formation spell from the deck. So this is a tuner. It's an easy to meet condition with Battle Destruction. Replaces itself. It's pretty solid, I think. Caribou is more conditional. It has to be destroyed by an effect to be replaced, so not as good. The one good one is Fire Fist Rooster, 3-star Beast Warrior, 1500 attack. When this card is special summoned by the effect of a Fire Fist monster, add a Fire Fist monster from your deck to your hand. You can use this effect once per turn. Once per turn, you can send one face-up Fire Formation spell or trap you control to the graveyard. Set one from your deck. So this does a lot. It gets special summoned. There's a multitude of cards that special summon the level 3s. So it could be the Boar or Caribou getting destroyed. It could be the Spirit bringing it back from the grave. So then you get a Fire Fist monster from your deck, so you draw one. And then you could send a face-up one, which is Tensu probably, because you use up that ability. And then you send another one, so it cycles a spell as well. Very solid card. And then finally, the Red Dragon Archfiends. This all revolves around the Synchro Monster Red Dragon Archfiend. I think Chaos King Archfiend might qualify as well, or it's just a regular Archfiend, I don't really know. But and then there's that other card, Scrap Archfiend. They all kind of, are Archfiends. Here are the cards that specifically work for Red Dragon Archfiend. Red Gardna. 4-star Fiend, 0 attack, 2000 defense. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card effect while you control Red Dragon Archfiend monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. This turn, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Pretty good. It's hand protection, so it's pretty good against the one-turn kill meta. You've seen Karibos. It basically does the same thing, except it prevents effect damage. And the weakness, I guess, is when you've got decks running Tie That Binds, their Maximus effect won't work, but they will. They do have Ice. Ice destroys. No, Ice doesn't work either because the Red Gardener would save it. So, Tie That Binds would make their Maximus hit over your Red Dragon Archfiend, which sucks. But of course, you have other support. Red Mirror is a really weird card. It does hand stuff too, but basically lets you recycle the Gardna. It works during the battle phase only. It also works for other Fire Fiends, so think about that. Red Cocoon, trap card. Normal trap. Target one Dragon Synchro monster you control. Equip this card to it. When it is battling an opponent's monster until the end of the damage step, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there its turn, target one Red Dragon Archfiend in your graveyard, special summon it. I think this is really solid. It's an equip card for Red Dragon Archfiend. Negates opponent's effects, and it gives your Red Dragon Archfiend another life, so it brings it back for one time. Finally, King Scarlet. Continuous trap card. If a Red Dragon Archfiend you control battles during the damage calculation, make that monster you control unable to be destroyed by that battle. If you do, special summon this card as a normal monster as a trap monster of 0/0. Another card that gets protection for your Red Dragon Archfiend. So, but then it becomes a monster, so it's a little weird. It has to get destroyed again, so. Very interesting card. Other notable R's and N's. I think I found 2 or 4 cards that are interesting. Most interesting card is an N called Trap Eater. It's a 4-star Fiend Tuner with 1900 attack, 1600 defense. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by sending one face-up trap card your opponent controls to the graveyard. Cannot be special summoned by any other way. So, not irrelevant, I think. There are meta continuous traps all around. Unending Nightmare, DNA Surgery, Amazoness Onslaught's going up. We're seeing more Amazoness. Sea Stealth Attack, same thing. There's a water deck running around. UA Penalty Box. There are continuous trap cards. I think some of the most popular decks, Kawaki Meru, Ancient Gears, Vampires, don't have that. So it's not a thing that can hit often, but it is a sideboard card for tournaments. I think whenever those decks that run Unending Nightmares in Ancient Gears, I take that back. But it is a card that hits those. Remove that trap card for a free special summon, and it's a tuner with decent attack, so not irrelevant. And finally, the spoon, fork, and knife, the Malice Vorus spoon, fork, and knife. They basically are swarm monsters. They can all come out on the board, level 2 fiends, and they are for XZ summons. Whenever there's something with 3 level 2s, think about these guys. So that is the main box. I personally have not bought this box yet because I didn't have a ton of gems. I spent them on the last set or the ancient gear set. I don't remember what, but I personally have not. I'm waiting to see if a big deck comes out of it. I have 7,000 gems now, so I can't really make a full run on this box either. So I don't know. I'll wait around and see. It's possible I skip this entirely, but I do like some of these cards, and I would like to play something with the Lava slot. I really find interesting, actually. And Red Dragon Archfiend, of course, Nephis as well. So there's a lot of cool cards for sure. I am waiting around to see if anything comes of it. Alright, there's one more new card to talk about, and the card trader made an update as well. If they didn't think we got enough cards this week, here's another new one. Dragoonity Darkspear. 3-star Dragon Tuner, 1000. Once per turn, you contribute 1 Dragon-type Dragoonity monster from your to select 1 level 4 or lower winged beast monster from your graveyard and special summon it. So, I've never played the Dragoonities myself, but they do revolve around getting the Synchro Summon of Vajrana, and Vajrana is a 3800 that has piercing where it hits twice. I don't remember what, but it is a 1-turn kill card, and this is just more tools for the deck that didn't really make it. Other cards we are seeing repeats of. Lion Alligator is a card we previously saw in, it's like a pick of gift card or whatever. And it's a 1900 attack reptile that gives all your other reptiles piercing. We haven't seen reptiles since worms were good. Not worms, aliens. Aliens were good. So, I don't think it really fits into their skill set because they need the monster's face up to put the alien counters on. So, it's fine. It's a fine card. It's a 4-star 1900, which is something that, beginner players do like. So, if they have worm cards, they can kind of fit it in. And of course, the Paladin of Felgrin. This is a Mokuba card that we are getting extra copies of as well, as they are thinking about future level cap increases and whatnot. They are going to give them better monsters, so they're clearing out some of the lesser monsters that aren't going to see play into these collections. Finally, some in-game news to close out this podcast. There are player titles now. Typically, when you go into a game, you see who you're facing, right? You see what country they are supposedly from, and you see their ranked duel portfolio for the last 5 seasons. And this is a new thing where you get a title. So the Kaiba Cup ended with a title. I don't know how it works. I think I got the title of top 10,000 for second stage. But for some reason, everyone I faced in Platinum is lower than me. I don't know what's going on. Everyone moved up. Possibly everyone in their skill set, in my skill set, got off their ass and they are playing well enough in ranked duels to be in Legend or King of Games by now. I have faced a lot of people that just get, their stage 2, or they didn't even play the Kaiba Cup. I don't know what happened, but I wish I did play more of the Kaiba Cup, so I don't know if they would have given me the top 500 NA North American title, but I just have the top 10,000, so that's what I am. It is an incentive to work harder towards the Kaiba Cup. I think that is a little small regret I have. Other thing going on is event exclusive skills added to lifetime missions. Miracle Draw from Jaden and Card of Sanctity from Yami Yugi were previously event exclusive, and now they are lifetime missions, so anyone can get those if they so desired to. Finally, some upcoming news. We're going to get Hasselberry in a few days. That's definitely great. Duelist challenges as well. This morning, March upcoming news came. Trudge is being added to the gate, so his event is probably done. Duelathon is happening in early March. Second half of Battle City, the new Yami-Yugi skill as well, early March. Yubel's coming back mid-March, new skills and cards. Duel Quest is just like a filler ability at late March, a filler event. Sartorius is going to be unlockable late March, so it's a new character for GX. Based on the clues they gave me, they didn't even mention Sartorius, but talk about Destiny and stuff. I think Sartorius, if I recall from the anime, very RNG based, his cards, because they were just guessing of things where face up or face down. So it's basically a lot of coin flipping. I don't know if I'll like that, but so as long as the cards are not too powerful, I would be okay with it. But I definitely welcome any duelist, legendary duelist that we're getting. That means more stuff for us to play with more options. Planned updates mid-March. 5D's characters raised to level 35, so this is pretty big news. We're probably getting a few gems, a few hundred gems there, maybe 1,000 gems, and of course a new card from each character as well. So I definitely like to see more synchro monsters and improve those strategies there. And finally, improvements to the auto deck feature. Auto deck feature is something that I think people are not aware of because it's been horrible, and I know it's horrible in other games, and it's not something someone would do in the right mind to play an auto deck for ranked duels, maybe casual or something. But apparently, it's going to be a more intelligent auto deck feature where they look at what cards are popular in the meta and they're doing it, and they also do it based off your cards. So maybe it's something to think about. I personally probably will not use it. I like to build decks on my own, or I don't build decks on my own, but I copy what people do online. And I sometimes put my own spin on things depending on what I have in my collection. That's always the thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! You can't make your own cards, so you do it based on what you have. So I probably still won't use it, but I welcome the change for a better auto deck feature. That's going to be it for this podcast. As mentioned, this was just a straight card review episode. I did not have a chance to implement anything new. I mentioned before I will be asking more questions on Twitter to try to get more people involved so I can fill up some time talking to people in the community, answering questions, and working together, really. And, of course, as I mentioned, the search for a new co-host. I have to develop some screening questions, first of all, for anyone who's interested, and then kind of schedule times to talk to people and record for the future to see who works. But right now, this is what I'm going to be doing for now. Any feedback, let me know. Most likely to be on Twitter, dual_assessment, or my own Twitter, Green Ranger CCG. Find this podcast anywhere. Search the Dual Assessment. I think a lot of people are using whatever their phones have. Castbox, Google Play Music, iTunes, Stitcher, and we're also on Spotify. Spotify is becoming a huge engine for podcasting, so it's definitely easily accessible there as well. So thanks for listening, everyone. Happy dueling. And I will see you in Duel World, and I'll see you next week.